All right, so we left off talking about how Montag is like Icarus. He tries to escape the imprisonment of his society, but he's caught by Beatty. And just like Icarus, it ends up being very tragic. He's going to have to burn his own house. And as he's confronted with this, he reflects on Clarice. And Beatty is very disparaging of Clarice and her ideas. And he's basically disgusted that Montag was taken in by this. Montag, trying to defend Clarice, says she saw everything. She didn't do anything to anyone. She just let them alone. So remember, Montag very much has this positive influence by Clarice, and because of her name, Clarice, Claire, the sense of clarity, she sees things, and her ability to see things is what catalyzed him to start looking and seeing and really reflecting and thinking about his life. And for Beatty, this is terrible, right? He doesn't want people to reflect and think and to see things clearly. Alone, hell. She chewed around you, didn't she? One of those damn do-gooders with their shocked, holier-than-thou silences. Their one talent making others feel guilty. God damn, they rise up like the midnight sun to sweat you in your bed. The front door opened. Mildred came down the steps running, one suitcase held with a dreamlike clenching rigidity in her fist as the Beetle taxi hissed to the curb. Mildred! She ran past with her body stiff, her face floured with powder, her mouth gone without lipstick. Mildred, you didn't put in the alarm. She shoved the valise in the waiting Beetle, climbed in, and sat mumbling. Poor family, oh, everything gone now. Beatty grabbed Montag's shoulder as the Beetle blasted away and hit 70 miles an hour far down the street, gone. So as Montag is waiting to start burning his house, his wife comes running out. Mildred comes running out of the house here. And obviously from the fact that her face is floured with powder and she doesn't have lipstick on, this is a sudden thing for her. She is leaving the house as quickly as she can. And Montag says, you didn't put in the alarm. So the question is, did his wife turn him in? And she doesn't even acknowledge him here, right? She doesn't even look at him. She just gets in the car. And notice what she says as she's climbing in. She mumbles, poor family, oh, everything gone. So again, we see this reference to the family. And sadly, she is not talking here about Montag. She's not talking about her real family. She's talking about her parlor walls. She is talking about her television family. So we see even up to the end, Mildred living in this false reality, in this very superficial life. She is more concerned. So she's in this false reality, this superficial life. She's more concerned with the loss of her stuff. She's more concerned with the loss of her TV than she is with the loss of her husband. Beatty grabbed Montag's shoulder as the Beetle blasted away and hit 70 miles an hour far down the street, gone. So she's left him, right? Again, we see that there are very few real relationships in this society. She leaves him without a second thought. Their relationship, like so many others, is very superficial, very surface, and can't withstand this challenge, this difficulty. There was a crash, like the falling parts of a dream fashioned out of warped glass, mirror, and crystal prisms. Montag drifted about as if still another incomprehensible storm had turned him to see stonemen in black wielding axes, shattering window panes to provide cross ventilation. So Bradbury uses this really great simile here. He compares the breaking of the glass by the firemen in his house, the breaking of the house windows, to a falling parts of a dream. Specifically, a dream made out of warped glass. Warped is a great word. If something is warped, it's distorted. And if you try to look into warped glass or a warped mirror, you're going to see a twisted or distorted image of yourself. Again, think like a carnival. Think like a fun house mirror. When you go there and you see the wavy mirrors that make your top half look really long and your bottom half look really short. So again, Bradbury is suggesting here with this metaphor of the dream and the warped glass mirrors and crystal prisms, that Montag's life, Montag's home, was a distorted or false reality. He believed he was happy, right? That was a false reality, though. His happiness was simply a mask. Again, think of this carnival metaphor. Think of clowns wearing masks and painted makeup. Mildred thinks the TV is her family. They're just characters. They know nothing about her. They're all living in this distorted, false reality. And now it's breaking apart. The brush of the death head moth against a cold black screen. Montag, this is Faber. Do you hear me? What is happening? This is happening to me, said Montag. What a dreadful surprise, said Beatty. For everyone nowadays knows, absolutely is certain, that nothing will ever happen to me. Others die, I go on. There are no consequences, no responsibility, except that there are. But let's not talk about them, eh? By the time the consequences catch up with you, it's too late, isn't it, Montag? Montag, can you get away? Run! So we see here this foil being created. Remember, a foil are two opposing characters that are set in opposition to each other to make a point. This foil being created here between Beatty, the fire chief, and Faber, the retired professor. Beatty is there to burn Montag's house, to keep Montag in this false reality. Faber is there to help free Montag, to enlighten Montag, to hopefully save Montag from what is going on. Montag walked, but did not feel his feet touch the cement, and then the night grasses. Beatty flicked his igniter nearby, and the small orange flame drew his fascinated gaze. What is there about fire that's so lovely? No matter what age we are, what draws us to it? Beatty blew out the flame and lit it again. It's perpetual motion, the thing man wanted to invent but never did. Or almost perpetual motion. If you let it go on, it'd burn our lifetimes out. What is fire? It's a mystery. Scientists give us gobbledygook about friction and molecules, but they don't really know. Its real beauty is that it destroys responsibility and consequence. A problem gets too burdensome, then into the furnace with it. Now, Montag, you're a burden. Fire will lift you off my shoulders, clean, quick, sure, nothing to rot later. Antibiotic, aesthetic, practical. So let's talk about Beatty for a minute here and who he is as a character. Beatty's such an interesting character. So I'm going to go up here. I've got some more space. And let's talk about this fire chief. So we know that he is the captain, right? He is in charge of the fire department. And we know from part 2 that he knows the true history. He knows when things really got started. He knows that this is a false reality that they are creating. He knows the government is censoring. We can also tell from many of the references that he's made that he knows books. He's very well read. He frequently quotes material. He recognized the quote from Ridley and Latimer that the woman, the martyr who burned herself with her books, said. So this makes him a really interesting character. This makes him a very complex character because he's someone who has read. He's someone who knows the history, and yet he's continuing to go along with the society. He's not just continuing to go along with it. He is the one who is perpetuating it, who's continuing it as the chief of the firehouse. And in a lot of ways, Beatty, this character that Ray Bradbury has created, is like Senator Joseph McCarthy in the Red Scare. So American history, specifically the Red Scare during the Cold War. This man who used the fear of communism, the fear of the USSR, to his advantage. This man who became a demagogue. And so, just like McCarthy, Beatty, in a lot of ways in the text, is a demagogue. A demagogue is a leader, right? That's Beatty. He's a captain of the fire department. It's a leader who appeals to the desires and prejudices of the people to gain power. So a demagogue is someone who leads by getting support from the people through their desires and their prejudices. And we definitely see this in Beatty. So let's take each of these two things, desire and prejudice. Let's take these two components. What is it people desire in Bradbury's society? They want to be superficially happy. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to worry. They don't want to think about the fact that they're about to engage in what will probably be a very long and costly war. So they're told, quick war, 48 hours, there and back again. This is impossible and impractical. There's no way a war could be over in 48 hours. But the people want to be happy. That's what they desire. They don't want to worry. They don't want any trouble. And this is definitely what Beatty is giving them. He's taking from them the things that might bother them. Books about subject matter that would make them sad or make them question or make them wonder. All of those things are things that are sometimes painful and difficult. Now, how about the prejudice side? How is Beatty using prejudice? Well, he's using the fear of books and people who have them to keep others in their place. Montag starts to step out of place. So what does he do? He sends the mechanical hound, something that creates fear, to try and get Montag back in line. Montag doesn't fall in line, so what does he do? He burns Montag's house. He doesn't do it on the side. He doesn't do it in a secret way. He does it in the open. He makes all of the other firemen come along. Why? Because he's trying to send a message. He's setting Montag up, Clarice up, these other people up as the other, the freaks of nature, in order to create prejudice and fear, because it's easy to control people when you appeal to their desires and their prejudices and their